Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. And everyone, hey, welcome into the program. Today on the show, we have the one, the only, Mr. Nathan Evans. And I apologize, one moment. Okay. Sorry about that. 1 second. Good. All right, everyone. I'm really sorry. I'm actually really in the middle of a call. This is really weird. But everyone, hey, welcome into the program. We have computer and technology news in just one moment. Oh. And all right, perfect. Okay, everyone. Okay, ignore act like that didn't happen. Everyone, welcome into the program. Computer Technology News, Computer America, Nathan Evans, Popzara.com. Check it all out. We'll have it in the show notes. We're going to ignore this last minute, and I apologize. Customer support. If you don't get them and you don't, kind of complete everything, then hey, they're really going to do mean things to you. So everyone, welcome into the show. Why don't we go ahead, just bring Nathan on. This is going to be an unorthodox show, I can tell already. And everyone, sit back, relax as we get started with Computer America. So everyone, as I said before, Nathan Evans, Popzara.com. If that tickles a little part of your brain, that's because Popzara helps us here on the show with so much, including monthly correspondence, of course, convention coverage, so on and so forth. And hey, we always like talking to Nathan and his team of very good writers and contributors. So everyone, welcome into the program once again. Nathan, how you doing?
What's going on, Ben? Did you ever watch Spaceballs?
Absolutely.
You remember that scene when the priest is marrying them at the end and he gets fed up? And he's like, do you? Yes. Do you? Yes. Good. You married. Kiss her. Like, that's what you need to do sometimes. You need to wrap it up. You need to just get to the point. Kiss her.
Exactly. Yeah, no. I was actually on the phone with customer support for Ring and their security cameras and stuff like that. And this person, I don't know if it's standard issue to give people horse tranquilizers, but this person spoke like they were on horse tranquilizers.
Depends on how you're sick.
Oh my God. But it was just excruciating. And obviously I've been on the phone with them for the past 45 minutes. And I was like, it's like, I can cut this so close. But man, the way that they spoke just led every sentence to be extremely long.
Let me say this, man. As someone who used to manage those people, right? Manage whole call centers a long time ago, different life. They're supposed to cut the call really short. They have call times they're supposed to do in and out. But after a while, you get the whole thing turns into chaos, right? It's cats and dogs living together.
Right.
And the only thing you can do is just not give up. You've come this far.
Right.
It's not fun.
And certainly was able to cut that short. But yeah, everything worked out. And hey, they're going to send out a replacement. I don't know why. There's water intrusion in this stupid thing, and it's supposed to be watertight, but it's not.
Who runs Ring? It's not Amazon, is it? Does Amazon run Ring?
Yes.
There's your question. There's your answer.
Yeah, I'm sure that the build quality, and actually it's pretty fun. Before Ring was in every Home Depot, Lowe's, and whatever, we actually had the creator of Ring on the show to talk about his product. He was very, very passionate about his product, and doorbell cameras was obviously his first thing.
Should call him.
But then he sold it to Amazon, and Amazon marketed the crap out of that thing. So, and then it became the company we all know. But yeah, it's fun stuff.
You know what I learned? You learn this a lot when you're doing corporate like marketing synergy. So it turns out like 99% of the companies out there don't actually expect you to use the product or service you're buying, which is why companies can lie and offer you like unlimited internet, unlimited this, unlimited that, because they just don't expect you to use it. Like if you buy a gift card, they don't expect you ever to use it.
That's
so
true.
the reason companies can make so much money is that they're selling you the idea, the promise of a product, but they don't expect you to turn it in. And that's why you have absolute BS nonsense, like truly unlimited, like as opposed to what? It feels like a Seinfeld episode.
Well, we've always said here, especially with like unlimited text and data and stuff like that, it's unlimited until you hit the limit, and then it is very limited. So
it's like that Seinfeld episode where Jerry's Jerry's getting a reservation for a car, and he's like, "I'm sorry, sir, we don't have your reservation." He's like, "Well, I had a reservation." He's like, "I don't think." He's like, "I know what a reservation is, sir." He's like, "I don't think you do." That's what it's like. And they don't expect you to call customer service. They can't. Can you imagine if 1% of all the customers call customer service? Be chaos.
It always gets me whenever we travel a lot with like flights and how they purposely overbook. Like, if every person shows up to a flight, they're like, "Oh, we're short 20 seats." And I'm like, how is that possible? You're not supposed to do that. Exactly.
It's like they overbook because they don't expect you to show up. And then if that ever happens to you, by the way, PSA from your good friend, Nate, wait till like 11 o'clock. And there's always holdovers and extras, and you can usually get out of there. But I don't know if you've flown Southwest in the last couple of weeks and all the nonsense they've had. You can't see my hands, Ben, but I'm doing weather problems that only affected Southwest. Only affected Southwest somehow. But if an airline company says weather, that's actually a legal term. It has nothing to do with if there's actually weather. If it's weather, they're not responsible for paying your hotel or food expenses.
Oh, they're doing the legalese.
Yeah, it's like when Best Buy used to say acts of God. Like you buy a TV, like, would you want the 3-year insurance policy? Well, it doesn't cover acts of God. And you're like, well, wait a minute. Acts of God? What's an act of God? So
tornadoes, lightning strikes, pretty much anything that can destroy your stuff. Yeah.
That's what they said. They said, well, tornadoes. And I said, you mean weather? It's like, it's not an act of God. We have meteorology. We know what causes it. It's not God. It's weather. But anyway,
but you and I both know that's contractual stuff and has legal meaning outside of it. But hey, we're not here to talk about acts of God or anything like that. We're here to talk about, just about anything else. So everyone, popzara.com if you want to check out a lot of what Nathan and his team have been putting together. Of course, you can see there the most recent podcast with probably one of the most offensive thumbnails that I've ever seen. I don't know, just having it on my screen and seeing Mr. Scarborough just staring into my soul.
You know Scarborough? You heard of him?
Not personally, but
he does a bunch of cooking podcasts. I didn't actually do this one. One of my editors, Evelyn, did, and it's where he discusses, basically, I thought it was going to be a book about literature and all this. It's about how literature affected his life, positively and negatively. So if you know who Scarborough is, then you know what to expect.
There you go. Yeah. So of course you can find that there, and you put out multiple podcasts every single month, and on top of that, written articles, reviews, everything from comic books, movies, so on and so forth. And
can I do a little PSA?
Go for it.
In case I forget. So I wish it was up now, but we had some delays because of technical difficulties. But we're going to be publishing by Sunday, probably Monday, a trio of Halloween themed podcasts that I'm very excited about.
A trio? That's a lot.
A trio. Yeah, a trilogy. And so it wasn't supposed to be a trilogy. It was supposed to be just a sequel, like a Terminator 1 and 2 situation. But then a third one came out, and you know how it goes. We're going to be doing Halloween movies. We're going to be doing specials on the best horror remakes of the movies. I don't usually tell what we do before we record, but this time it's special for you, Ben.
Gotcha.
It's a Computer America exclusive.
Thank you.
So I know, stop the presses. Like when I say the best horror, the remakes, I mean The Thing, The Fly, The Blob, those things. And it turns out there's pretty good ones. Then we're going to be covering everything else. But I guess I can tell you this. We did it today. We have a special interview with a industry legend that I'm very excited about. Very happy. One of my heroes. We just finished wrapping an interview with Tom Savini. And if you know who he is, then you know. Yeah. See, I'm educating. I'm popularizing Tom Savini. He's one of the big giants of horror films. One of the biggest.
Prosthetic makeup artist.
He created Jason.
There you go.
Yeah, he did the zombies in Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, remade Night of the Living Dead. He was in, you ever see Dusk Till Dawn, the Robert Rodriguez movie?
I did not.
With vampires? He was the was it Sex Machine or Sex God? He was the guy with the gun for a crotch.
There you go.
Yeah, he's a lot
I'm
of fun.
sure his house is full of the weirdest stuff.
Oh, you bet. Oh, you bet. Anyway, he's a legend. He's got a documentary out now. He literally is the biggest name in horror and practical effects. Like his student is the guy who created The Walking Dead. Like he's the godfather of it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited. He's a big name, and we're very happy. If Jim Henson did Splatter, then Jim Henson would be Tom Savini.
Yeah, you can see here that he has his own Simpsons character, so you know he's made it. When you have your own
been
Simpsons character. Yep.
I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, perfect. And you say that's coming out. You doing it, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or all Sunday?
We're gonna dump them all. You're gonna binge listen, but probably maybe Sunday, maybe Monday. So just in time for it's before Halloween. How's that?
Yeah, no, it's perfect. And usually for, just for Computer America, because we're a little bit more boring, we usually just do articles, stuff like, what's scary in tech. And usually
You're not boring. You're just limited. It's different. You can't. You don't have the filters. You have the filters.
Well, yeah, we're not focused on kind of art, pop culture, stuff like that. Which hey, you cover tech and you do reviews on keyboards and mice just like we do, but you also cover a lot more. So it's good to have that variety. And hey, it's definitely great to see, and we're looking forward to it. We'll definitely point everyone to that. So, but in the meantime, why don't we go ahead and jump into some of the stories you sent over? These are all relevant. Just today. And so a couple of things have been going on. This first one we talked about a little bit when it first was announced, and I heard that they've been patching and working and fiddling with it. But when it comes to Windows 11 and AMD, and traditionally AMD and Windows, I'm sure they have a good relationship, but Windows and Intel have been like hand in hand since like the Pentium days. It's just either through sheer advertising, money burning or whatever it is. Intel and Windows have always been kind of a thing. So it kind of struck people a little funny that AMD would have some kind of issues with the new operating system, Windows 11. And it shows here that they have fixed this at least. So maybe the communication wasn't too good, or maybe AMD just didn't do their due diligence in making sure that their processors worked on the new Windows 11. But Nathan, why did this catch your eye? What happened? Yeah.
Well, like a lot of people, I have an AMD machine, and we talked about this last time when I told you I was going to upgrade to Windows 11. And like a lot of people, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait the 5 days. So I'm part of the Insider program. So I moved my main machine over, and I had no problems. It turns out, yeah, I know. But I mean, I've been a Windows 11 fan for a while. It's got its quirks, but I think the pluses outweigh the quirks for a lot of things. That being said, a big hurdle that may be insurmountable is the fact that machines have to be TPM 2.0, I think, compliant, and they need to have fast boot enabled. And for some reason, my machine didn't have either one, even though it used the Insider program fine. So I had a lot of problems going through BIOS and getting that done, but I did. And by the way, if Microsoft tells you your machine can't handle it, it's not necessarily true. I don't want to revisit, our old conversation where I said Microsoft would relent a little bit, which I think they have to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
But even going through the proper channels, you can enable TPM on your motherboard BIOS. You can enable a fast boot. So make sure you check before you give up. That being said, I have an AMD machine. I have a Ryzen. What do I have? Goodness, I think I have Ryzen 5. What's the top rated CPU for like last year? I have that.
Ryzen 5, probably the 3600X.
3600. See, I don't have the X.
Gotcha.
I have the. Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. Wonderful.
Yeah.
But it was like a lot of AMD machines. Apparently, my processing power was being throttled by up to 15%, and I haven't necessarily noticed that. But I don't notice everything. So the patch.
It was for certain games and it was for certain processes where this is like all the rage with Apple was, Apple was kind of stroking themselves when it came to the processor and, kind of how it handles cores and how it assigns processes.
Lighten up a little bit.
Yeah, there you go. But I think Windows 11 had kind of the same issue where just assigning programs to different parts of your processor and your core, and it led to a kind of a throttling issue with AMD.
This is not the first time it happened. I think this happened with Windows 10 with AMD. And again, I appreciate the fact that you're holding AMD responsible because they are responsible for this. They're the ones who sign off on this. And this is to be expected when Windows has to work with 14 billion configurations. Mm-hmm. But that being said, there's no excusing the fact that AMD is a huge motivator for gaming and for desktop publishing. Not just gaming. AMD is great for just general number crunching for people who do who need image processing and movie processing. It's not just Intel. In fact, if anything, I mean, if you ask me today what processor I'd get, I'd say AMD. It's just a better deal. But Intel's sort of dropped the boat, and I think it's not just Windows users who've seen this. Apple has rid them off their platform, and their own processors. In general, it's hard to get because of the chip shortage. But a lot of people like myself have AMD, and maybe we expected it a little better than to be treated second class. But we're back. We're here. We survived.
Yep. So I'm honestly, the chip shortage could not have come at a better time. And I know that Apple is still affected by it because, pretty much everyone gets their processors from Southeast Asia. And then they, kind of work with it, or at least the die stamps. They get the dies minted in Southeast Asia. But so Apple's still dealing with it to some effect, to some extent. But Apple coming out with their own, their own silicon came at a really good time when everyone's seeing shortages and Apple already had a certain amount of them kind of partitioned off, be like, these are Apple M1 chips or whatever. So it came at a good time because it meant that, hey, they didn't have to compete as hard with Intel or AMD to get their chips for their products. So that worked out well, I will admit.
And what's interesting is that the supply issues have now expanded to everything. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know where everyone's listening, but in certain part of the countries it's worse. And so, like, for example, I went to a donut shop the other day, and for the very first time, they said, like, I'm used to seeing, sorry, our shop is closed because of lack of employees. But now I'm starting to see signs that say, because of supply shortages, we don't have this. And I think the rest of the country may experience what computer enthusiasts have been experiencing the last couple of months, shortages.
Yep.
I don't know what that's going to mean for holiday Christmas buying. What it should mean is that people would recognize the value of family and friendship and devalue buying garbage you don't need. That ain't going to happen. People are going to scramble to buy garbage. I'm sorry, man. PlayStation 5s and Switch OLEDs, good luck.
Now you're sounding like a Luddite. Absolutely.
A Luddite. I like my online offline. But no,
that superfluous garbage that people purchase. I hear.
By the way, as I'm sitting here in front of you with a dual display, with a $200 keyboard, with a Bluetooth keyboard, my new speakers, my thing. Yeah, I'm a hypocrite. So as I got my iPhone and my multi-switch keyboard.
I even just purchased a new mouse myself, and I actually have to go back to the review that I wrote for the Razer Naga. That was kind of my everyday mouse that I was using, and I always like to go back and update my reviews with whatever the untimely demise, if I keep using it. So the Naga was when you click and drag stuff, it would kind of strobe the click thing, and it would drop things and cause it to do all kinds of weird stuff. Essentially, the Razer Naga failed me. It eventually broke. I'm not
a big fan of Razer products, to be honest.
So the Razer Naga is like a $50-$60 mouse, and I got about 2 good years out of it. I had no real complaints with it, but I think everyone should know that with Razer in particular, you're paying a premium, and I don't think that you're going to get much more than 2 or 3 years out of their keyboards, out of their mice, out of their headsets. That's just kind of what you're getting, a flashy, middle of the road product.
Well, they have a name brand. I think they try to capitalize it. They try to have that marquee. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not getting paid to say this. I don't always say this, but Logitech makes my favorite stuff. And the mouse that I've had now for like 6 months has been the G305 Lightspeed. Mm-hmm. It's about $50. It's wireless. I don't do Bluetooth mice on desktop. But I'll say this: it's only got 2 side buttons. The body's a little weird. I would have preferred shorter, but it's got multiple DPIs for sensitivity. It's got almost no bells and whistles, right?
Right.
But it works perfect. It's a Logitech mouse. So Logitech mice in particular, it's sort of like iPhones. They don't really make bad ones. What happens is they just make cheaper ones.
Yeah, and of course, Forrest's talking about the one of the ones that he won here on an old contest, which we haven't had a Logitech contest in quite a while now. I gotta get in touch with him, but yeah, he won one like 7 or 8 years ago. That's still working. The Media Play mouse, the Logitech Media Play mouse from way back when. But yeah, Logitech is really good if you avoid like the travel mice, and by travel it's kind of code for the really, really, really cheap stuff like the the 10, 11, sub $20 or sub $15, I would even say, kind of mice and keyboard. Logitech is probably some of the best that you can get, up to like $100. Like the $20 to $100 range, Logitech crushes it.
Logitech mice are like a really good salad that doesn't need dressing. But the dressing is there if you want it. Like if your salad needs dressing, it's not a good salad. Salad dress. Well, here's the thing: dressing is to salad what perfume is to someone with body hygiene. Like if you're clean, you don't need perfume. But if you want to enhance your cleanliness, a little perfume. And my Logitech mouse, like I said, this is a cheap mouse by most standards. $50. Oh, please, they got so much more expensive. But it works perfect.
Right.
I got a nice little mouse pad. I love it. And I do a lot of work on it too. People say, it's not wired, the latency. You know what? Screw you. I like my latency.
Well, I like my latency. That's something I've never heard before. But yeah,
I'm fine with my latency.
Exactly. So my next mouse is the X17 EVGA. Actually got off Newegg for like $30. It's normally like an $80 mouse. So I was like,
how many buttons are on? That looks like the Terminator.
It only has the 1, 2, and then of course, left, right. So it only has like 6 buttons. But like, what's really cool is like this one up here has a little cursor kind of deal, and when you do that, it drops the DPI down from I don't know if you know your DPI off the top of your head, like what you use.
That's what I'm saying. My mouse actually has a DPI switcher right under the roller. I can do like between, I forget what it is. It's like lower to higher. But no, it's fantastic when I'm doing editing stuff. It's fantastic. I love it.
Mine is, I usually go at about 12 or 16,000. I usually go about 16,000 DPI.
16,000, that's pretty fast.
Very fast. I can go from one side of my triple monitor setup to the other with probably about 2 inches of movement. Like whenever people sit at my computer, they're like, where's the mouse? I can't find it because it moves so fast. But then you press and hold that button and it's meant for like gaming and shooting, and it drops it down to 200 DPI, which I think people could do stuff. So pretty cool little stuff. I don't know how we got on mice, but my point is my Razer Naga died. So now I'm testing a new mouse, and hey, it has LEDs, and that's important to me.
Here's
I like
a PSA.
RGB.
Experiment. Like you may find that 2 buttons is great. You may find that 16 buttons makes you happy. It's your PC. You have options. Try
Absolutely.
it out. Find what you like, because there is a lot of crap out there, literally. So be careful. You don't have to settle with default.
Absolutely. And hey, there's everything from an MMO mouse, which I used to use. That one also broke. The Razer. That was the Razer.
I'm noticing a trend here. I'm noticing a trend with the brand. So
I've never gotten really more than like 2 years out of any Razer products. So take it as you will. But still, they're good 2 years. Mm-hmm.
I didn't send you that one story. I didn't want to talk about it, but that Razer mask came out. It's available now. That
really?
Smart mask. I think it's finally out.
It
called
had a weird
the
name.
Zephyr mask.
Yeah, the Razer Zephyr.
Yeah, no.
They define. That's one of the ones that I saw that I was like, no way that thing's actually coming out. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, it looks way different than the concept design.
Can I tell you something? They look like G.I. Joe villains. Like, if I saw that, no offense, if I was flying and I saw somebody with a Zephyr mask, I'd get on a different plane, because I don't know if they're going to attack, because they look like villains. And I'm sorry. Better safe than sorry. Look at that. They look like Bane from Batman.
Yep, and
Batman.
I guess hello Batman. but I guess like one of the important parts is, of course, to be able to see the mouse. And I'm trying to find like here it is. They don't look quite like they were designed to, and I think even they themselves thought, oh, this is just a fun concept to get people, headlines and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They're a lot less sleek, and honestly, it looks like they just kind of added RGB lights to a painter's kind of mask. I
don't know if these are sanctioned to go on flights. Like, a lot of those masks with the respirators, airlines won't let you bring them on, and I don't know. This thing is like, they look like. You ever see the new Mortal Kombat movie?
Yes. Yes.
What's the guy's name with the robot prosthetics?
Scorpio?
No, not no. The guy. I remember what's his name? Oh, Cabal, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like a cheap made-for-video action movie. That's what it looks like. And I'm sorry, Razer. I hope you do well, but damn, that's dumb. And this is why wearables never catch on, because they look stupid. I've said this before. I've never seen a wearable like this on your face that looks good. The glasses, the masks. Who designs this stuff? Get Tom Savini. He designs masks. Call Tom.
Mr. Savini could definitely do it. I gotta say,
I'm not joking. He designs masks.
I feel like if anyone, if you were going to add any feature to this, and I'm surprised Razer didn't do it, instead of mask, I think it was somewhere on Reddit, people have passion projects where they design a mask and it had like little LED, kind of replicating the shape of your mouth as you talked. So it looked kind of, futuristic, but it wasn't as, I guess, kind of silly looking as this. Like, why not a little LED screen instead of the window to see your mouth? I don't know.
Or how about just don't wear the mask? Just don't live in fear. Or if you're gonna live in fear, wear a Jason Voorhees mask and then be the fear.
At least have fun with it. And you heard it here first, folks. Nathan said don't wear a mask for Halloween. He's against Halloween. It's really sad, actually.
That's really funny though.
Has escaped him.
I was in Salem, Massachusetts last Halloween, as it happened, just random. I didn't expect to be there, and it was the first time I was ever in a crowd during the pandemic. And ironically, it was the one day when people wanted to wear masks.
There you go.
So that's a real case use of ironic.
Yep. So just real quick, so Windows 11 update, and did they already push out this update? Just to wrap up this article.
I got it. Yeah, I got it already. And if not, there's always, you can always push it yourself. You can always go to the Microsoft site, and also check out AMD's site, because there's also a separate exe file if you need it. So as always, do your diligence and make sure your system is up to date and secure.
NVIDIA and AMD they both do this thing. If you haven't been into computer games for a little while, I think it's like the NVIDIA something experience.
They'll spam the hell out of you.
Yes,
that's what
they
that
will.
is. the GeForce experience is nothing but spam.
GeForce experience. Every time a new game comes out, they promise to optimize drivers, and it's little pieces of code that essentially say, hey, NVIDIA, and they plaster it in front of your face, has a new update because this game came out. It doesn't affect you because you don't play that game, but they'll still offer you an update for your drivers.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
You're literally... Well, I mean, you also the reason they keep that spam bot on your computer is that it does offer like HUD display options for frames per second and capture, and it's useful. And it's not that, I'm not gonna lie to you, as far as intrusive spam goes, I've seen worse, but it is intrusive spam, and that's what it is. They're and this is the real problem. I don't want to get on my soapbox, but companies like Windows and Microsoft and Apple and AMD and all this stuff. They've taken advantage of drivers and they've changed the definition of what a driver is, and they've moderated it. That's why you see so many rollbacks, and why you see so many. Instead of seeing one driver update, you see 20, right? Because they found ways to market it. And there was a guy yesterday who posted a screenshot from Flight Simulator on the Xbox, and it said like finish downloading Windows 11 on your Xbox. But what the hell is that? Because it wasn't downloading Windows 11, it was downloading the in-game advertising of it. And that's what's happening because they found a way. Companies found a way to monetize your drivers. And I'll be honest with you, you've seen the result. We've had crappy drivers. We've had bad patches. We've had rollbacks because you shouldn't be doing that. That's like putting Gatorade in the drinking water. Like, don't do that. Like, let the driver packages be pure.
It's what plants crave.
That's Gatorade.
That's Bronda.
Did I say Gatorade?
Yes, you did say Gatorade. You said Gatorade in the drinking water.
I thought. Okay, I meant to say fluoride.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
but yeah, it's there's drivers have become this thing that instead of just the little snippets of code that make your hardware work with your motherboard, work with your operating system, they are like super hyper customized. And I've even seen, like you said, bad drivers that just kind of break. Like my graphics card will run at like 100% for like 2 days because certain applications that I run are not optimized correctly, and they have to kind of fix it.
Yeah,
awful.
To be honest, the first Windows update that attempted to quote unquote fix the AMD problem made it worse. Like that's the thing. Like a driver is very simple. Like, and it shouldn't be this entertainment package. It should be separate. The driver should be clean. It should be clean, and then put all the crap on the side, but not together.
Will anyone think of the Linux users? They have to, they have to put all those into new distros.
They know what they got into. Okay, they know what they got into when they went into this.
Yeah,
and they're probably like, challenge accepted. So
there you go. So there you go. There's that one. Let's see. You have this next one. I'm gonna make fun of Google here a little bit. Stadia. We don't really talk about Stadia too much, and I don't think anyone else does. But hey,
Stadia's
that's
great.
Okay.
The tech's great. It works pretty good.
It's every time this comes up, because I remember game streaming from the cloud happened 10 years ago, and I'm sure even before that. And, people, like, there's going to be a time when you say it just works, and I'm sure that for a lot of people it might just work, but this is an idea that's going to keep coming around until it finally sticks. So it's not a matter of if, but when.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true.
Really? You don't think that streaming games is just an eventuality?
No, I don't think VR is an eventuality either. I think at some point, people try to recreate the wheel, and they say, "I can do the wheel better. This is wheel 2.0, or this is that. We can make it better." But in reality, I like the idea of gaming streaming. I think it has its place. But when movies went to streaming with Netflix, it made sense. Like, wow, this makes sense. The problem is with gaming, though. The problem with gaming is twofold. One, the obvious technical difficulties, which can be solved. At some point, it can probably be solved. Although I do think we're living in a world where bandwidth is becoming more commoditized. And I think we're moving away from something like what I have. I have Google Fiber, which I have unlimited bandwidth, which is truly unlimited. It really does work. Whereas you have the ISPs.
Just rub it in. Just grind that dirt into that.
I haven't even begun. I spent $600 this week outfitting my basement with new mesh routers to expand the loveliness in my house. Okay, so
I have I won't say which company because I make fun of them so much, but yeah, I just redid.
It's one of two. It's only one of two.
yeah, unfortunately, but yeah, we just redid ours like last night. Like the gentleman came out here and worked with us for like 6 hours. And
can I be honest with you? Can I give you a little PSA? Sure. Asus routers right now at Micro Center in a few places are only $100.
There you
They're
go.
Wi-Fi 6, but they're mesh enabled. So if you want to expand like even a mediocre internet, you can do it with homemade mesh networks.
Yeah.
They're pretty good with Wi-Fi 6.
Yeah, no. This one's Wi-Fi 6, and we have to pay a monthly fee. But we are renting the stuff, but it is a Wi-Fi 6, and the little pods that they have, you can't get them anywhere else. But the point is, we're only spending
Arrow?
like 50. What?
Is it Arrow? Are you doing Arrow?
No. But it's like we're paying like I think $30 a month for like 5 units. Yep, $30 a month for like 5 units. So
you buy me lunch and I'll hook you up forever. Anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, look, we're making fun of Google, but the answer is that gaming streaming is a very cool idea in practice. The problem becomes very obvious once you start using it. It's not the latency. The problem is the latency. It's remarkably stable for most things. It's really stable until it's not. I mean, if I told you your car brakes worked 98% of the time, that would be terrifying to you, because the 2% would overwhelm you because you only need them when you need them. And so the problem about Stadia on NVIDIA, whatever it is, or Sony, whatever it is, they all have whatever it is, Microsoft, whatever it isn't that the games are streaming and there's latency. The problem is you don't own anything. And when the service gets shut down, you lose it. And this is becoming more and more prevalent as games become more and more decentralized. For example, did you buy the game on Steam? Did you buy it on Uplay? Did you buy it on Nintendo Store? Did you buy it on PSN Store? You bought $2,000 worth of games on PlayStation 3. You can't play them on PS4 because the stores aren't compatible. Say nothing of that. Sometimes the idea of backwards compatibility is very different than the ideas of forward compatibility. So because forward compatibility is more important. It's much more important. You
could just be like Microsoft and just wait, 6 years, and then they'll, surprise you with, you can play your own games again. Yay!
Microsoft's doing a better job of it because they're taking their time. But I think Microsoft, like Sony, they understand that fundamentally that gaming software is where the money is. So, for example, but hear me out. This is where it's going to sound strange. There are digital options that many people take advantage of. They say, I'll buy the game, I'll buy a code, I don't need it, like Steam. The problem, though, becomes what happens to the value of the games that you buy. Now, there's going to be someone out there going, but Steam, I own 300 games. Well, screw you. You're an outlier. I'm talking about people who have a sizable collection that becomes platform agnostic. Like, for example, if you buy Nintendo games, right? For example, Nintendo actually has a streaming service. Did you know this? People, certain developers, like Hitman 3, for example, you could stream on the Switch. It's a terrible experience. Controllers like that. So you're paying full price for a mediocre experience that you could only play in your house, which defeats the purpose of it being on the Switch in the first place. So that's one thing. They announced Grand Theft Auto Trilogy today, the remastered edition. It's coming to Microsoft. It's coming on Game Pass. You can download it. You can play it. At what point will it become more important where you buy the game than how you play it? If streaming becomes indistinguishable from client-based, if it becomes indistinguishable, then it becomes it. I'm trying to say this correctly. Where you buy the game becomes more important. Right. The closest example I can give you would be 2005, when Microsoft and Sony had competing high-definition video formats. Microsoft had HD DVD, PlayStation had Blu-ray. And they're both fantastic. Microsoft was a lot more complicated, but it had it. And you could buy, which version of King Kong do you buy? HD or whatever. Let's say you decided, I'm going to go with HD DVD, and you are buying all these movies. In 2 years, you'd be screwed. They'd be gone. Be like worse than Laserdisc. But if you still bought those Blu-rays, you could still play them.
Blu-ray was certainly an attractive offer from PlayStation because, again, a Blu-ray player was like $400, and then a PlayStation that could do Blu-ray was like $350. Like, exactly. That really defined that generation.
Well, that's exactly what happened with DVD. Like the DVD player, the format became successful because it was attached to the PlayStation 2. Yeah. Or how about VHS versus Beta? We're not talking.
Which Xbox had VHS? I actually missed that one.
No, but going back to VHS, because VHS was more prevalent because VHS had less limitations on content. Sony owned the Betamax format. Sony said no pornography, no this, no that, and it didn't work out. They learned their lesson. There was all kinds of porn. There was multiple angles on DVD. But what I'm trying to say though is that I'm not trying to be a curmudgeon. I'm not trying to say that there's no value in streaming, because I know what we're talking about is now Google. I think they recognize the writing on the wall is that they are not a good steward of this technology. They may provide the backend, but now they're going to start licensing it and giving it away to third-party companies to offer. This is exciting. This is exciting for two reasons. Google makes Android, and for all intents and purposes, they've not done a very good job with Android. You know who's done a great job with Android? Amazon.
Oh.
No.
I was close.
Amazon. And I'll tell you why. Amazon has taken a fork of Android, rejiggered it, and made it their own ecosystem on top of it. So we're talking about Windows 11. Windows 11 will soon be compatible with Amazon's Android store.
Yeah.
So what Google's done, though, Google has had the Wild West. I think what Google's done has been, terrible for the industry, because now they let Asus do their own version of Android. They let TLC do their own version of Android.
That goes back to weirdly enough Linux and the whole idea of open software, and the ability to, hey, if you contribute to it, you take it, do whatever you want with it. You just have to also contribute back to the project. So that, and again, that's what the open source philosophy is that, hey, great things can come from a lot of people the more minds you put to it.
Great things come from open source as long as someone's cracking the whip. Like, there needs to be some centralized controller. If not, you get unfinished, buggy programs that have no quality control.
Well, don't get me wrong.
Open source.
The biggest contributors to open source projects are usually things like Red Hat, Microsoft, Google, large corporations. They are the largest contributors to open source projects.
No, you're talking about the projects themselves. I'm talking about specific commercial products. For example, OpenOffice is free. OpenOffice has been free for 20 years, but their own people couldn't agree on buttons, and they couldn't. Yeah, so it became LibreOffice. And you know who snuck in there and made a better version? Google. Google came in with the
Google
cloud.
Docs. Yeah. And
by the way, can we just make the comparison between Google Docs and the gaming Stadia? It's the same thing. You're taking client software that people rely on, and you're turning it into a cloud-based service. Google, for all the BS people give them about unfinished products, they've revolutionized Office documents with Google Docs.
Yeah.
They've done fantastic with it. I use it all the time. I know same in that it's not as good as Microsoft's Office, but
it's compatible, and that's the biggest part.
It's compatible, and it does a lot. And what it does better than Microsoft is worth the compromise for a lot of people. Maybe not for everything. Like spreadsheets, terrible. But I'll say this. So let's go back to Stadia. The problem is,
in this announcement that they have their system, and I guess one of the problems with Stadia was that they were developing their own. They bought their own publishing studios, they bought their own games, and much like kind of Netflix and Netflix originals. But imagine Netflix with only Netflix originals, and that's that would not be competitive. There's a reason why Netflix is still paying $1 billion for
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld, not Friends. I was about to say Friends. Seinfeld. You need to let other people's content on your system, and it looks like that's what Stadia finally did.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this could be exciting for the service, because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think it's going to be anybody's priority. Although, full disclosure, I've said this before. I have an editor who didn't have any other option. We got him a copy of Cyberpunk 2077. It turns out that was one of the better versions of it. Go figure. But he was playing it on his big screen 4K TV on his wall with a Spectrum cable that we had to fix. But when everything was right, when he was playing it with a controller, before that he was playing it on his Mac. The only way to play Cyberpunk would be on a streaming service. It wasn't available on Mac, and so there's room for this technology. There's room for it, but it has to be run by someone who understands the medium and understands how to market it. Otherwise, people are going to be very angry when their $60 investment went kaput because the servers went down. Say what you will about Sony and Nintendo and Microsoft, they're pretty good about supporting this stuff. They've been pretty good at it. Whereas someone like Sega has a horrible history of not doing this. So this is where I'm at. The technology is totally fine, but the technology is not the problem. It's the person pulling the switches and levers. And Google, no offense, you've been a bad parent.
Yeah, and let's face it, they even like Stadia was out for like a year, and they started to close down like their own internal studios that they that they kind of started, and they started pulling support. I hope that they can at least stick with it, because nothing like Google is was it the Google Graveyard is like a website that you can go see all the dead projects. I'm honestly with you. Like, even though it's streaming video games, like I said, I think it might not be a thing now, but it will be a thing eventually. And Google just needs to stick with it, because they are the biggest player in this field that is just starting.
We could ultimately have a scenario, which I think is likely, and I don't want to see, but it could be. When something becomes critical mass, then the critical mass decides, not the enthusiasts. Enthusiasts do not decide anything. Mm-hmm. But it could be, we could have a Spotify vinyl record scenario where Spotify has become the dominant streaming music service. Mm-hmm. They've surpassed everything else, even Apple Music. But the number one way that music is calculated is through streaming, primarily through Spotify, YouTube, but it's Spotify. But that hasn't stopped vinyl records from becoming huge again. So to have this parallel universe where you can have the comfort of Spotify, which, by the way, I totally subscribe, and I love Spotify. I think it's fantastic for music discovery. But if I was an enthusiast who really cared, I could use the experience of a Spotify stream, and I could say, well, this has helped me make a decision where I want to spend my money. And I think the possibility of streaming video games to help consumers decide what is crap and what is gold, it could be a huge game changer, but not always in the best interest of the game industry, because here's a little secret from you that you already knew. They have no problem passing off garbage at full price. There's very few companies that don't do this. And so, yeah, I mean, why would you want to buy it? Why would you, pay $60 for a glitchy piece of garbage that you just demoed? But that was the idea of Dave Perry's Gakkai when he first came out with it 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Which eventually got bought and turned into PlayStation Now, is that you could go to the web browser, and just like you watch a movie trailer, you could play a game right from your browser. Yeah. Oh, I like this. I don't have to download a demo. I don't have to do that. I could just play it from my browser. And that makes sense. That makes sense the way Netflix makes sense. But paying full price for a streaming product that you don't own makes no sense. The same way, by the way, having to pay Netflix $20 to watch a movie doesn't make sense. They have to understand that if it's going to change the industry, it has to change the finances.
If you could tell that to Disney, that'd be great.
Disney learned. Disney learned a lesson real hard. You'll notice Shang-Chi didn't go to Disney Plus on first day.
Yeah.
It made money. Black Widow went to Disney Plus, got bootlegged to hell. Shang-Chi made the most money of any Disney movie. I think you're going to start seeing companies realize that there's value in the product, but there's value in the exhibition of the product. You could take Call of Duty every year. It's going to sell 14, 15 million. But the real money is in the DLC. It's in the extra content. Right. And I'm not sure you can do that if you don't have people downloading the software. No offense. They are not going to stream 15 million copies of Call of Duty right now. That would be terrible. They couldn't do it. It wouldn't happen. So, yeah, it's going to be fun.
And this last sentence here in this article from IGN, Stadia is still adding third-party games, but its future may well be a tech solution than a platform in and of itself, which is what you were saying. So,
well, I don't want to really advocate piracy here, but a huge game from Nintendo came out like a week ago. It was Metroid Dread on the Switch.
Yes,
the Switch is its own universe. They own thing. There's already bootlegs of that game, but not on the Switch. What they're doing is people have found a way to emulate the Switch and create bootlegs. That being said, if the game is good and the word of mouth is good, then Nintendo will still sell millions of copies of that, right? And there are going to be people who choose to get the quote-unquote free version and get a very different experience. At the end of the day, the enthusiast will buy. And the only way to become an enthusiast if you have a good product. If you don't, you're going to have these shows like on Netflix that somehow get 45 million viewers, but nobody knows anything about them.
Right.
Like, don't confuse popularity today with longevity tomorrow. It's just never the way it's been. And you need enthusiasts. Yeah.
Yeah. There's been a lot of studies that that we've even covered here on the show that while piracy is bad, don't do it, all that good stuff, whatever keeps us out of legal hot water. Piracy gauges excitement, engagement, yes. What people kind of want. But if there's an easy, affordable way to get it, I mean, it's almost like I wouldn't say like advertising, but yeah, you can, this people will purchase it. I mean, that's kind of the Netflix effect or anything else. Like people who don't have access to it will pirate it, and only like a few people will, who can afford it and who are interested will actually pirate it, because if there's an easy, affordable way to get it, they'll just get it. They'll
you want to hear something crazy? You want to hear something crazy? Final thought. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
People like me, we had radio back in the 80s. We heard a song, we taped it on cassette. Right? And we listened to it on cassette. And there was a lawsuit with the manufacturers of VHS makers. I think it went to the Supreme Court. The idea that they were trying to block the distribution of VHS because they thought it would create piracy. When VHS players were very popular in the early 80s, if you wanted to buy a VHS tape, it was $100, $100. But once the lawsuit came out, once VHS players flooded the market, and you could buy easily reproducible blank tapes for $1. Guess what happened? The market exploded. It exploded. In fact, it was bigger than the theatrical market. So anybody who tells me the economics of piracy and easy access mean diminished returns for the companies is lying. There's no evidence of that. It's exactly the opposite. People don't pirate crap they don't want. They pirate crap they do want. You make it accessible, they get it. And that's what happens all the time, every case.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying we're out there and pirate. I'm not saying we're out and pirate.
No. And of course, my mind immediately goes to Game of Thrones. In regardless of how people think that ended, Game of Thrones was not available in all countries, and it was the most pirated thing. But that's because HBO, they weren't really letting it outside other countries, and I get there's this whole legal shtick with regions and region locking and that kind of thing, but still, It just showed engagement. Speaking of HBO, we can go ahead and move on to this next one, and I think we'll have time for this one and maybe one more story. But HBO Max, and I did not hear about Amazon Prime and all this kind of thing, but what happened here with 1.8 million users gone in the US. That's a lot of US viewers.
Well, because of Amazon, we talked about Amazon created a store that allowed these third-party apps to come in. And before there was HBO Max, it was HBO. You could add HBO as a service to Prime. And if you've ever used Amazon Prime Video, you know how confusing it can be. Like, it's not like Netflix. Oh, you turn it on, everything's here. There's DLC. You could add on packages. And you have to click the button that says free to me. And by the way, don't use the word free. You're paying for it. Like, if you weren't paying, the app wouldn't even show up. But anyway, HBO was the add-on, and then eventually it became HBO Max. And eventually, like all, irreconcilable differences, the two services became competitors, and they have to split from each other. That being said, I'm one of the ones they gained, because as soon as they left Amazon, they slashed their prices by 50%. From $15 to like $7. I have HBO Go now. And you know what? It's a HBO Max. It's a great streaming service. There's a lot of stuff on there. A lot of good stuff too. Like Curb Your Enthusiasm. The new season's coming out. I plan on watching it. I don't got to bootleg it anymore. I can watch it legally because it's accessible, and it's easily accessible. But that being said, this shows you the power of a marketplace. That where you why you think to yourself, well, why can't someone just get HBO Max on their own? Well, because the fact that they're on a huge market like Amazon makes them supremely more visible than if someone has to go off the marketplace. And that's the argument, by the way. Remember a couple of months ago we talked about Apple and Epic Games, and I predicted back then I think it was going to be a draw or a stalemate. That I thought maybe Apple would win, which they mostly did. Yeah. But then the judge decided that Apple has to allow third-party vendors to come and allow that, and Apple's
already filed suit. So look for years of. Look for years of appeals on that one. So they won a little bit.
Well, the thing is, then Apple would face the prospect of having to deal with other clients' customer support. Like, how come my PayPal payment didn't go through? How come my Cash App payment didn't go through? With Apple, it's just Apple. Same thing with Amazon, is that if you purchase the Amazon package, if you purchase the HBO Max, it would bill through your Amazon account. Like Amazon was the payee. And now that they've split, you got to go on to Amazon, HBO Max, and you have to get your own account. You got to pay for it yourself. And of course, some people didn't want to make the journey, and that's what happened. That being said, I'm not crying for HBO. I think they're going to be just fine. I think they've situated themselves better than almost any other streaming service. I'm going to say this, it's going to sound weird, but I think they're going to have a larger install base, a dedicated install base than Disney Plus at some point. The reason being is because Disney has been misleading and duplicitous in their pricing strategy. HBO says, it's all here. King Kong, you got it. Mortal Kombat, you got it. You want this? You got it. Disney keeps changing the rules. Oh, you wanted this. Oh, you got to pay $30. Oh, I get to keep it, right? No. Like, that's the thing. And as Disney content becomes more incestuous, as it becomes Disney only, I think it's going to be harder and harder and harder to convince people. Well, we have Hulu for that. Well, that's a different service. You got to pay for that too. HBO, we'll see how it goes, but HBO has become a marvelous alternative. It's not for everybody, but it's got a lot.
HBO has really good content, which has always been their thing. High quality content that's I would
say they have the best first party content.
Yeah, some of
it's Warner
stuff
Brothers
is pretty
as well.
good, but HBO stuff is higher quality. But let's face it, Netflix floods themselves with their own content. And I think as these kind of wars start heating up, and Disney floods themselves with their own content as well, and they are the highest quality content, regardless if you like superhero movies or not. Let's face it, they're the one.
It's good.
Yeah. So, but HBO I think has positioned themselves better than, let's say, Hulu. In terms of first party content. I mean, HBO is not going anywhere, just like you said. So I definitely believe in that.
Not only that though, but HBO is interesting because HBO has the same exact advantage that Disney has. Is not only do they have the legacy of HBO and the DC franchises, but they also have investments in the theatrical market that allow them to perpetuate this circle. Now, again, I know they've pissed off people by saying, "Oh, your movie's going to go to HBO," whatever. But it's an experiment that I think has been largely successful for them. And it has helped people through the pandemic. And it has helped situate movie studios that otherwise would have lost billions of dollars. And I think HBO has done it better. And I think you've seen, with the exception of Hollywood, that the users have liked that compromise better. Whereas Disney's been flooded with lawsuits. They've had a lot of problems in this, arranged marriage.
Yeah. And I will say, with the whole Disney lawsuit thing, especially Scarlett Johansson and all that, I have learned more about the contract building of movie stars. That crap is pretty complicated. I never realized that, like the size of a person's face on a movie poster relative to someone else's.
It's a gamble. It's when a star writes a movie contract, it's not like you make the movie, here's the money. You literally have to negotiate, like you said, everything. The name above the title. I think it was the movie Heat. I think it was when they had Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Like there's arguments over who gets placement. I think that they compromised by having like one star has their name on this corner, one has their name on this corner. Like that's why you see so many things like starring such and such as. Like there's a million ego trips that go through. Yeah. But in Johansson's case, her agent did not negotiate full streaming rights the way they should have, and I think that was the problem. Is that, this is a
Nathan,
new world. This is a new world.
We have like two minutes left, and I want to say something real quick. Did you see Squid Game?
I have not. I'm one of the only few. I plan on watching it, but no, it's just like, it's Battle Royale again. Like it's
kinda.
Have you seen it?
And I'm just saying that by I actually saw all of it, which is I don't often do that. I don't jump into like stuff that's kind of hot and trendy.
You did the zeitgeist.
I actually liked it, and the only thing I will say,
people like it a lot.
The only thing I will say is that I spent quite a bit of time, like, the episodes are, 40 minutes a piece or something like that. I probably fast forward through about 10 minutes because a lot of it's just kind of the Korean drama, people just kind of staring at each other and just kind of quivering, that kind of thing. I skipped through a lot of that, but I enjoyed it still.
Can I say something real quick? I love Korean stuff. I've been a big fan of Korean cinema for a long time. It's made me very, very, very happy that there's been this influx. If If this is what K-pop has wrought, I'm okay with it. Korean films and TV shows are absent of the wokeism, of the manipulation, of all this angst that you saw what happened with Dave Chappelle in his recent special. Whether you agree with that or not, it's just that we can't have these restrictions put on content. You need to be able to go out there, and the company supporting you needs to support you, because someone's going to be offended. Someone's going to be upset. And you can't build a culture of entertainment because you're worried that you might possibly affect somebody. Somebody's going to hate something, right? Yep. And so with the Koreans, they don't care. They have no problems with this. And I'm
glad that Netflix carried, that Netflix decided to carry it and keep it going. And
yes, exactly. Me too. Yeah, I'm going to watch it. I promise you, I'll watch it and I'll talk about it next month.
Let's absolutely do that. Although next month we're probably going to have to do some rescheduling as well, because hey, next time that you're due on is probably Thanksgiving, or like the day right after Thanksgiving. So, but we'll on
figure
before
it out.
That.
We'll figure it out.
Absolutely. Everyone, thank you for tuning into the show, and of course, thank you, Chad. Thank you, Nathan, for coming here. Again, I apologize for the very beginning of the show, but customer support, it's
frightening.
Yep,
it's frightening like Halloween. Happy Halloween.
Though. Yes, happy Halloween. And of course, check out the podcast, check out everything over at Popzara, and of course, computeramerica.com. We'll catch you next time. We'll be back Monday. Again, short week next week. I'll be gone Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then we will be back the first week of November. So Monday, Tuesday, and then first week of November. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. Catch you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.